Most believe absolute authority belongs to massive armies or kings with dragons, but history proves real power often hinges on psychological dominance. In 211 AC, the lords of the realm gathered at Castle Whitewalls for a wedding tourney. On the surface, it was a celebration. In reality, it was a front for a massive gathering of Blackfyre traitors preparing to launch a second rebellion. At the center of the conspiracy stood Daemon II Blackfyre, a charismatic pretender who intended to use this tourney to unseat the Targaryen dynasty and plunge the realm back into civil war. For any member of the royal family, walking into Whitewalls during this tourney was the equivalent of stepping into a lion's den. This is the nightmare Sir Duncan the Tall finds himself in. He is wounded and alone, frantically searching the deep shadows of the castle for his missing squire, Egg. The boy is actually Prince Aegon Targaryen, the grandson of the king. He has spent years hiding his identity behind a shaved head and a commoner's tunic. If the rebel lords find him, they won't take him hostage. They will execute him on the spot, using his royal blood to sanctify their uprising. Imagine being 10 years old, surrounded by hundreds of men who want your family dead. You can either stay hidden and hope for a rescue that isn't coming, or walk directly up to your enemies and gamble your life on a lie. Egg chooses the gamble. He abandons the instinct to hide and instead turns his royal identity into a precision-guided weapon. When Dunk finally finds Egg in the castle sept, the boy isn't cowering. He is sitting calmly while the powerful host of the tourney, Lord Butterwell, shakes with terror before him. Egg realized Whitewalls was isolated. He produced his signet ring, telling Butterwell a colossal lie. They were royal spies sent to dismantle Westeros. He claimed his father, Prince Maekar, was marching a massive royal army to the castle to execute every traitor inside. Egg chose the perfect target. Butterwell was notoriously indecisive and cowardly. Faced with the prospect of Maekar's wrath, the Lord's nerve broke completely, and he effectively surrendered his own castle to a child. A 10-year-old boy had just conquered a fortress and ended a rebellion before it could start, using nothing but his enemy's own paranoia against them. The psychological victory is cut short. Black Tom Heddle, a ruthless warrior who doesn't care about royal blood or threats of future armies, bursts into the sanctuary with his sword drawn. Heddle knows the rebellion is doomed if the prince lives to tell the tale. He moves to kill Egg instantly, seeing the boy not as a prince, but as a loose end that needs to be cut. Dunk is bleeding and exhausted, but his physical intervention is the only thing standing between the assassin and the prince. Dunk slays Black Tom, leaving his blood on the holy floor, but the sound of the struggle will soon bring every armed man in the castle down upon them. When a bluff reaches its limit against a fanatic, the mind loses its edge. At that point, survival depends entirely on raw physical sacrifice. Dunk realizes they can't both escape. He orders Lord Butterwell to smuggle Egg out through secret tunnels, deciding to stay behind to ensure the boy isn't followed. Dunk marches alone into the Great Hall, walking directly into a room filled with hundreds of Blackfyre loyalists who are just beginning to realize their plan is falling apart. To buy Egg the time he needs, Dunk uses a classic decoy tactic. He publicly accuses the rebel commanders of theft and demands a trial by combat against Daemon Blackfyre himself. While Egg used the mind of a king to dismantle the Lord's resolve, Dunk used the blade of a knight to ensure the prince's survival. Out on the tourney field, as Daemon Blackfyre prepares to face Dunk in the mud, the air is suddenly shattered by the sound of hundreds of war horns. The rebel lords look over the battlements and see their nightmare made flesh. A massive sea of spears has surrounded the castle. Egg's bluff was a total fabrication. He had no way of knowing his father's location, and yet an incredibly real royal army has just arrived to finish what the boy started. Who is leading this force, and what will happen to the Black Dragon now that the real one has arrived at his gates? In Westeros, a well-placed lie can hold a castle for an hour, but it takes an army to hold it for a day. Egg shifted the balance of power with a story. Reality arrived to seal the victory.